On the day James Comey was fired, the career lawman realized the FBI rules he'd always followed didn't really apply.
Well, I was no longer an employee, so I wasn't breaking the rules. I took a bottle of red wine out of my suitcase, and I asked the pilots, could I sit up with them? Because I'd never done it. And I sat on a jump seat between the two pilots and watched them land along the Potomac. And then we shook hands with tears in our eyes, and then I left and got driven home.
Amid the flurry of calls Comey received that day, he says there was one that stuck out.
John Kelly, who was then Secretary of Homeland Security, called me. He was very upset. He was very emotional and said he had seen the news and that he intended to resign because he wouldn't work for people who would treat someone like me in such a dishonorable way, and that he was going to quit.
What'd you tell him?
Please don't do that. This president needs people of character and principle around him, especially this president. I said, we need you to stay and serve for the country.
General Kelly didn't resign, going on to become White House Chief of Staff.
At what point do people serve in order to protect the institution, to protect the country? And at what point does it cross over into enabling bad behavior?
That is the question. The challenge of this president is that he will stain everyone around him. And the question is how much stain eventually makes you unable to accomplish your goal of protecting the country and serving the country.
The White House referred us to an RNC statement attacking his credibility, claiming that Comey contradicted himself in testimony and made bizarre decisions as director. Comey now turned his attention to his next steps.
And it wasn't until the president tweeted at me that Friday morning after I was fired that James Comey better hope there aren't tapes of our conversations, that I sort of snapped back to the present.
And this all set into motion that leak heard round the world. Comey's first thought is how to corroborate his side.
Somebody's got to go get those tapes. I trust the FBI, because they'll see what I see, but I don't trust the leadership of the Department of Justice to do it. And
Why
so
not?
The Deputy Attorney General, in my view, had acted dishonorably by putting out this pretext about why I was fired. I can't trust him.
The Deputy AG Rod Rosenstein, along with Attorney General Jeff Sessions, had signed letters recommending Comey's dismissal.
What do you make of the Attorney General?
I don't know what to make of him. My sense of him, maybe it's unfair to him, was that he was overmatched for the job, and that the job was much, much bigger than he was, and that he was going to struggle in it. That's my sense.
Comey had kept a written record of his interactions with the president. Feeling there was nowhere left to turn, he made a decision.
For the unclassified encounters, I wrote them up on my personal computer. Thank goodness I kept a copy here, because I was banned from the property. One of the orders that was issued is I was never to be allowed back on FBI property like I had killed somebody.
Comey controversially gives this memo to a friend who then reads it to the New York Times.
The president's tweeted innumerable times calling you a leaker because of that. First of all, what's your response to President Trump?
Look, it's true. I mean, I'm the one who testified about it. That's how people know about it. I gave that unclassified memo to my friend and asked him to give it to a reporter. That is entirely appropriate.
The White House tried to get out in front of Comey's book and interview, launching a full-scale counterattack. The president tweeting calling Comey a slimeball, a leaker, and a liar.
Comey will be forever known as a disgraced partisan hack.
Last Friday, Press Secretary Sarah Sanders reading from a prepared statement.
This is nothing more than a poorly executed PR stunt by Comey to desperately rehabilitate his tattered reputation and enrich his own bank account.
The Republican National Committee even launching a website called LionComey.com to discredit him. The tension between the president and Comey is not likely to flame out anytime soon. But in this time of division and dissent, Comey says that perhaps a little heat is a good thing.
Terrible things happen in forest fires, but I'm an optimistic person. So I see already things growing and flourishing that didn't before this fire. I see the kids marching in the streets, including my own kids, about guns. I see parents talking to their kids about truth-telling and prejudice and bias and respect. That was not happening 3 or 4 years ago. And so there's a lot of good growing.
For Comey, it all comes back to his ideals, which he says are fundamentally American.
People who tell themselves, well, yes, Donald Trump is unethical, but I'm getting the right Supreme Court justice or the right regulatory rollback, are kidding themselves. Because if we lose that tether to the truth, if that stops being the norm at the heart of our public life, what are we? Where are we as a country?
He will go down in history, perhaps, as one of the most polarizing public figures.
One of my kids shared with me a tweet that's become one of my favorites, where someone said, that Comey is such a political hack. I just can't figure out which party.
Aren't you concerned that that public trust has taken a hit because of the decisions you made?
Oh, of course I am. I screwed up a couple of things, but in the main, I think given what I knew at the time, these were the decisions that were best calculated to preserve the values of the institutions. My hope in this book is not that people agree with me. They may still walk out of this thinking I'm an idiot, but I'm an honest idiot.
And James Comey will be on GMA Live tomorrow morning.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.